Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayra al-maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Okay. My name is Cora Majid. I'm the chair of the Green Team at Masjid Muhammad. The Green Team promotes the prophetic model of environmental sustainability and community life. And we like to partner education with actions that connect Islam with care of creation. And so today we're partnering with the Garden Committee to put on this workshop that is beneficial to your health and the planet. When you grow and eat your own food, there are less trucks and planes and boats using fossil fuels to ship your food to you. When you grow and eat your own food, you get to experience the miracle of Allah telling a seed to grow. Alhamdulillah. It's both a humbling and beautiful experience that everyone should have, even if it's just basil or spring onions or beans. And for the first time this past summer, I worked with Sister Phyllis at the Masjid Muhammad Community Garden. I learned so much and I ate so good. And I was finally able to convince Sister Phyllis to do a virtual workshop and share her massive, expansive gardening knowledge with the community, alhamdulillah. There's this quote that usually goes around during Rajab. And we're in the month of Rajab right now, the month of Allah. Rajab is the month to sow seeds. Sha'ban is the month to irrigate the crop. And Ramadan is the month to reap the harvest. And we thought that the month of Rajab would be a great time to teach people how to literally sow seeds. And spring is coming too. And Sister Phyllis Tarver-Kashif is going to help us get started, inshallah. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Sister Phyllis. Sister Phyllis, her gardening journey began with a shoebox full of seeds sent from her grandmother in Alabama. She started her first garden when she was 9 years old. The corn and the bean teepee was taller than her. She and her grandmother grew the same seeds, her grandmother in Alabama and little Phyllis in New York. Gardening is in her blood. It's her heritage. And Sister Phyllis has had a garden ever since. Sister Phyllis joined the Masjid Muhammad Community Garden in 2015 and is currently the chair of the Garden Committee. They grow herbs, vegetables, and flowers, and we would love for you to come and join the garden this spring, inshallah. So let's get started. Sister Phyllis? You're on mute. You're on mute, Sister Phyllis.
Okay, I'm sorry. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Corey is right. She did try to get me to do the virtual, but I'm so much better in person. And when I'm in the garden, I look very different, as she remarked earlier, very different than when I'm in the garden. I'm in the dirt and I'm loving it. So what we're going to cover is we're going to cover how to plant some seeds for herbs, because herbs are essential for your health and for seasoning. Most of us are familiar with the taste, if not growing our herbs ourselves. And we spend a lot of money on dried herbs and small portions of herbs from the grocery store, when a small investment and a little time and care, you can grow your own and have an unlimited supply. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to plant the seed for a herb. And I'm also going to show you how to make a container garden from plants that you can purchase at a nursery, or I wouldn't recommend a big box store, but you can purchase your plant at the big box store if you would like, if it's easier. Some of us is not going to start from scratch. We want to get a little farther ahead. So what I have here is I have some common herbs that we're all familiar with. Mint, I have sage, I have parsley, I have a rosemary. And so what we're going to do is, like, this could be a garden. This container right here, I got this container from the dollar store. It's $1, and you get your good potting soil. Always try to use organic soil, because it has less pesticides, less harmful things. If you're going to eat this, which we are, you would try to start with the best materials that you can. So start with organic soil and use an organic fertilizer. Understand your plant will be in a container. In this container, everything that that plant needs, you have to provide it in this container. It can't get it from the ground. It can't get the rain from the air. So you have to provide the water, the fertilizer, and good soil. So whatever you put in, you're going to get out. Okay. So one, we all are familiar with mint. Mint should be planted by itself. So if you buy a container of mint or you borrow mint from a friend, mint is so easy, it will grow anywhere. If someone gives you, let me just take one piece off. If they give you 2 sprigs like this, you just simply take this off, put it in a glass of water. In a week to 10 days, you will have roots. And then you stick it into soil. Plant mint alone because it will take over. It will grow everywhere. Even in our garden, I don't plant the mint in the garden because it spreads. The roots spread underground and it will go everywhere unless you enjoy it. Okay, so that's one way. That's another way of propagating to produce more of the same mint. So we're familiar with mint in food and in tea. So I would plant the mint by itself. I will not put it in here with these. I will plant the mint in a container by itself. Okay, sage is another one. So what you would do is if you purchase the plant, what you would do is, I have my soil, you would take your potting soil, you would dampen it in a container. I've already dampened my soil in my container. You want the soil to be where when you squeeze it, it holds apart, but it easily crumbles. You don't want it to be so wet that it's sobbing, but you want it to be damp when you start, correct? Okay. So make sure that you have drainage holes in the bottom of your container. You can drill them in there or take a nail and put them in there, or you can buy your pot with a drainage hole in the bottom of it. So what you would do is you would put the dirt in, some dirt into the bottom. Okay, one of the things I did want to tell you, if you're doing it inside your house and you don't want to have a big mess, use some newspaper. Just spread your newspaper out on your kitchen table or your patio so that there's no mess. When you finish, you just pick it up and throw it away or dump the other additional dirt outside. You put your dirt into your container and you remove your plant carefully from the pot. Hold it between your fingers. So if you buy the plant already started, see the roots? So you want to kind of move the roots around. This is getting too big for the pot. See how the roots are starting to spiral? So, and then you put the plant in there lightly. And then you put more dirt around it by hand. Okay, and I'm gonna put the parsley. We want to try to plant similar things together that have the same growing conditions. So sage is Mediterranean. You can put a rosemary. You can also put a parsley, all in a container together. We don't want to put more, like my container, how small it is. I might would put only 2 things in there because these plants will get bigger. They will not remain the same size. You don't want them to. You want them to get bigger. So I will put my parsley in and gently put soil around it until it's all in. Gently press down. You don't want air to remain in there around the roots. And then after you tap it down a little bit, okay. So you can put your plant labels. Always read your plant labels. If you're not familiar with the herb and you would like to try it, I look on YouTube, Google, ask Alexa. They will give you the information you need about the plant. Try different herbs to grow. These are simple herbs to grow. And then what you need to do is you need to water it in. Always water at the root because you don't want to put water on the leaves, which could encourage mold or bacterial growth. So just water it in, a little bit of water, not too damp to the touch. So that now is planted and you can just set it on the windowsill. This actually will sit and fit on the windowsill, or you can set it on your dining room table or a table near the window. You need it to have light. It needs water, air, and light. So you must put it where there's a light source so that it can get 6 to 8 hours worth of light. So if you put it under the dark corner, it's going to turn yellow. It's going to start dropping the leaves and die. So then as the summer progresses, you can put your pot outside on your stoop, your step, your balcony. Okay, so that's one. So this is sage and parsley. Now, I told you I would plant my mint separate. I would do the same thing with the mint. I would plant the mint the same way. I would pull it out the pot, put the dirt in there, all around it, water it in, and then put the mint by itself. This mint will grow and cover it. And so you can use this mint also. Same thing will be done. This right here is rosemary. It gets to be like a little bush. So I would also plant my rosemary alone by itself because it does become like a little topiary tree. And so you would take that out. I would put a little dirt in the bottom. This container also came from the dollar store. It has a little reserve for extra water. So when the water comes out, instead of spilling out, so just watch. When you water, it will spill out. Make sure you have it on a surface that you're not worried about. Take it in the kitchen, put it in the sink, or put a clear plastic container or plate underneath it to catch it so that it's not extra water. But that's reserved so that you don't always have to water. So what I would do, I would put a little dirt into my pot. Turn my plant upside down. Turn my plant upside down. Squeeze the pot. Don't get the roots. Not all of the roots. Put it gently into the pot. Okay. At the level that it was already growing. That's why we put some in the bottom to start. Okay. So, and I will give this also a little water to settle it in. Try to use water that is distilled or water that's bottled water. Sink water, tap water has chlorine in it. If you must use the sink water, fill your container up and let it sit for 24 hours so that some of that will dissipate and you can use it. Or you can catch rainwater outside in a container and bring it in and use it. Now, finally, we're going to
We seem to have lost Sister Phyllis. Sister Phyllis, are you still there? You're on mute, Sister Phyllis. There we go.
Can you hear? Okay, buy the seeds, buy you 4 plants or 4 seeds. And so you got your soil, you got your pot, and you have your seeds. So that's about $4. So that's good. I would suggest if you want to try to grow from seed, I would suggest basil, thyme, dill, and oregano. Those are easy to come up. Parsley is a little more temperamental. Sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to take my little pot. The dollar store has smaller pots. You don't have to get a pot this big. They have pots this size right here. So you would fill the pot up with potting soil. Tap it down a little bit. You don't want air pockets to be in the bottom. Because I want this to sit right on my windowsill. And you would open up your seeds. Remember, my soil is damp. I started out with damp soil, but when you squeeze it, it sticks together. It's sticking on my hand. You don't want the soil to be dry. When you open the bag, a lot of times the soil is bone dry. So a seed is not going to go with total dryness. It needs some moisture to start to break its dormancy. So I'm going to take the basil, open it up. The seeds are very fine in here. The seeds are very fine. So I'm going to sprinkle them around the top. 2. And I'm going to put a little more dirt on the top of it, not a lot, just a little, about 1/4 down, tap it a little bit, and then we're going to add additional water, just a little bit of water. You want it to be damp to the touch, but not soggy. Okay, and then we're going to put this in a warm place on a windowsill. and it will sprout. Once it sprouts and it gets to start to get the second set of real leaves, you could give it a little bit of dilute liquid fertilizer if you would like, or you could just continue to water it. And so you would get, I'm going to get basil from this. I'm going to tell you some of the benefits. The benefits of the herbs. One of the benefits of the herb is mint. Most of us are familiar with mint. We use mint in our teas and our salads. We use mint oil for stimulation on our hands and our feet. So mint is a stimulant, and it has vitamin A, C, and calcium and iron. It relieves indigestion. It helps with digestion. It helps relieve cold and cough symptoms. It improves brain function. It is also antibacterial and anti-inflammatory. So once your mint grows, like this mint right now, your mint will become a monster. It will take over and grow very much. What you do is you just snip the tops of the heads off, and you take those mint leaves, rinse them off, and then you take them and you pound them down a little bit with your spoon or something in your cup. And then you pour hot water on it and let it steep for 5 to 10 minutes. And it's an excellent mint tea that's home. You can add sweetener if you would like, or just drink it regularly. Okay, also now we planted parsley. The parsley is rich in vitamin A, C, and vitamin K. Vitamin K is used for blood clotting. So it is all, which helps your bone and heart health. It is an antioxidant. It protects your eyes, and is also an antibacterial. So we use parsley. Tabbouleh salad has parsley. You see parsley used a lot of time on garnish for your plate, but you can't eat it. It freshens your breath. The flat leaf parsley is more flavorful, I believe, than the curly leaf parsley. Also, you find it in soups and in salads, and they use it also with fish. Okay. And now talked about rosemary. The rosemary plant, which a lot of us are familiar with, rosemary used in potatoes and with lamb and meat. So what you do with the rosemary's benefits are vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin B6, and vitamin C, B6. It is an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, which means it kills off bad radical cells. It boosts your immune system. It improves blood circulation, and it stimulates cognitive skills such as focus, memory, and alertness. So you can also make a tea with the rosemary if you would like. When you take your rosemary plant, it will become like a shrub. So the bark will be kind of thick like a little shrub, like a tree. What you do with the rosemary, when you take it off, you strip it down. You strip off the little pine leaves of the rosemary, and you chop them if you would like, and you sprinkle them on your meat as you're marinating it and baking it. Or you can put it on baked potatoes. That's wonderful. If you dry the leaves, you can also grind them up into a rosemary powder, which you would buy in the store. If you've ever bought rosemary in the store, that little pack with a couple stems in it, about $2 and something or more. You grow a whole shrub and you plant it. You can cut as many as you like, as you need it. It is a perennial. So is the sage, and so is the parsley. What a perennial is a plant that comes back year after year. Once you plant it and maintain it and protect it, it will come back year after year. Some of them die down to the ground and some of them don't, but they come back every year. The parsley is a biennial, which means it will seed the second year, but it will drop its seeds around where it is, and it will send up new shoots, new babies that will take the place. So that's why it's considered almost a perennial, but it is a biennial, meaning 2 years. The sage is a perennial, so is the rosemary, and the mint is definitely a perennial. It comes back every year. It stays, it's under the ground. Okay. One more, so we talked about rosemary. One more that let me tell you the benefits of the sage, which is this. Most of us are familiar with the sage turkey, Thanksgiving, stuffing. That is the special seasoning that you don't taste any other time of the year. Most of the time is the sage. And the benefits of sage is vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin K, which helps with blood clotting, proper blood clotting. It is an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, You can use it for oral health care and bad breath. It boosts heart health, coughs, colds, and asthma. It's used, like I said, in turkey. You can use it in sausage and meat. So most of the time we don't take the sage and make tea or anything by itself. It's very strong. It has a very distinct smell. But however, what I can suggest is you take a leaf, a couple leaves. If you're doing green beans with potatoes, sage is excellent in green beans with potatoes. You just take a couple leaves and you drop it in there toward the end of your cooking and let the sage marinate in there with it. It's an excellent taste for your green beans and potatoes, fresh green beans, snap beans, and potatoes. So you could do that with it. Or you could put it in your meat, cut it up in little strips, put it in your meat when you're marinated, bake it in there. It's excellent. Oregano is an herb that I do not have here, but you can start oregano from scratch. Oregano, which we're familiar with pizza and Italian and tomato sauce, oregano is usually in there. Oregano has iron, calcium, magnesium, vitamin E for your skin, vitamin K for proper clotting, and it is an antibacterial and an antioxidant, and it helps fight infections. So oregano is an easy one. You can usually find that in the nurseries as well as the big box stores. So though I tried to give you herbs that you can find easily from seeds, or you can go and find the little plants for transplants and then plant them out. If you leave it in the container that you purchase it in, it will die. It will not grow. As I showed you in one of them, the root was wrapping around. So at some point, it's stopping its own growth. So you need to pot it up in a bigger pot. I would not put a little plant in a big pot. See this, if this is my container for my dirt, if I had this big container, I would not necessarily put a little parsley in there, but I would put our friend aggressive mint. Mint will take this over, put it dead center, cover it up, put that there, and then water it in, and it will take over the whole pot. So one more I want to mention is lavender. I think we're all familiar with the smell of lavender. It has, it helps with insomnia, fatigue, not fatigue, insomnia, nausea, headaches. It improves your sleep, it lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate, and it calms you down. It also helps with asthma. So it can lessen menopausal flashes, hot flashes. So it has vitamin A, C, and vitamin K, and a very beautiful smell. So you could take the lavender, especially want the little flowers at the top, and you can make a tea with it. You can include it with sugar, and you get the smell when you're making your tea. Or you can make a spray, a titration spray, and spray it on your pillow at night to help you to go to sleep. So that would be lavender. Usually you can find lavender in the store. It is very finicky to start. I had difficult time starting it from seed myself. It took several tries before I was very successful with a few plants versus one or two. Okay, so I think that I've covered a lot. I encourage you to please try. This is not a difficult thing. It is an easy thing, and Allah has given us the ability to grow our own food. And as we've seen with COVID-19, food can be an issue if it's not readily available and it's not the best quality. So if you could grow some of your own food, especially the food that you enjoy and will eat, and the herbs to help yourself, you are sustaining yourself. We always want to have sustainability. You want to self-sustain. So if you have, I invite you to join us in the garden, or call me if you have questions. I'm more than willing to help anybody that wants to garden and grow. Looking forward to seeing you in the garden, or just come visit so that you can learn about the garden, because all of us should know how to grow something that we eat.
Thank you so much, Sister Phyllis. Thank you so much. So we have several questions in the chat. The first question I'd like you to answer is, sometimes people kill their plants. How can they prevent themselves from killing their plants? You're on mute, Sister Phyllis. You're on mute.
Two things that kill plants. One, overwatering. Two, underwatering. If your plant, let your plants dry out in between, but don't let them where they start to drop down. You want to feel the soil, and if it's dry to the touch, you press and you dry to the, or stick your finger in it and it's dry, give it some water. It needs water just like you, it dehydrates just like you do. Or some people water it every day. You don't need to water any plant every day. So if you water it too much, the leaves will start because you're drowning it. It needs to absorb oxygen. So if you overwater, it's like if we stayed in a tank of water, we could not get oxygen and air. So that's one of the problems. Make sure you water it, let it dry in between the watering, and make sure you have light. Some plants need a little more light. They usually won't die from lack of light, but they won't thrive.
Another question is from Sister Rashida. She's interested in growing burdock root. Do you have any information you could share about that, burdock root?
I have never grown burdock root. That's one of the things on my list. I could not tell her that. I would have to look that up. That is one of the herbs on my list. I've never grown it before, so I can't really tell you how to grow it. But can she call me? Can she call me and we can try together? I've never grown it, but I'm interested in growing it.
Okay, inshallah, we'll give your number at the end. Another sister, Sister Laura, I think you might have mentioned this before, but it might be worth mentioning again. She said, starting out when the plant is small, can you put a small plant in a gallon-sized pot so you don't have to keep repotting? You want to comment on that?
I wouldn't put a small plant in a gallon pot, only because like this is like, I think 2 gallons. Like I said, I would put my mint in there because I know it can stand it. It's very hard to kill mint, any variety of mint. I would not, however, put my parsley in there because the parsley, I probably overwater it, trying to water it, or it just gets lost in it. There's so much space. So try to just bump it up maybe one size bigger. I know you want to not do it, but it's just like, if you put shoes that are too big on a child, even though they can walk, it's so much work for them to hold themselves into the shoes, it's not worth it.
Right, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, because you can buy the shoe, but they're like, if they're clogging out off their feet, so it's more hindrance than it is a help.
Right,
eventually
right.
you'll fill it in, but it's a lot of work, and you may overwater that plant because it's so much water. So try to bump it up a bigger size, but not too much.
Great.
Or if she had that gallon pot and she put one plant in there and she wanted to put other plants in there, try to get plants that have similar needs. Like the rosemary, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't plant anything with rosemary because it's going to get big. Like the sage, and lavender have similar needs. They don't need too much water. They need to dry out in the middle. They like sun. They like semi-dry soil. I would plant maybe 2 of those in there. I would plant one of each one, or around the biggest one in the middle and the other one around the side. That way the pot wouldn't be so big, and then everybody is working together to absorb the nutrition in the water. That could be something.
All right, Sister Joyce has a question. Which is better, to use seed or get a small plant to grow an herb? Which is better?
Depends on the herb. Like I said, parsley was finicky. Lavender is finicky. So if you're trying, I would start from plants. I would not. But certain plants are easy. Basil is easy to grow. Thyme is easy to grow. Dill is easy to grow. What else? Oregano is easy to grow from seeds. Literally, you sprinkle the seeds out. If you take care of them, they grow. Certain seeds need stratification, meaning they need a pole to break their dormancy, and they need a certain amount of water. So they're real finicky, and they don't come up, and then you get disappointed. You've been taking care of it, and you get one seedling, or you don't get anything, and you spend time just taking care of that plant. There are a couple that I wouldn't, like I said, lavender, I wouldn't try. Parsley, I'm not necessarily, I haven't had even any success with that. I've done okay with the rosemary. Mint is easy to come up. Dill is easy to come up. Basil is easy to come up, and so is thyme. They're easy. You can get it from the seed, and it's not hard task.
Another question from Sister Joyce. What's the best time to start a container garden?
Now, Start now. You can start inside if you have a warm place and it's sunny, or a windowsill. Like I started my basil seeds, which I planted in here. I'm gonna put it on my windowsill. You can, or you put it in a sunny space that you can watch it. But you can't. Basil doesn't like any cold, so you'd have to keep that inside. But now would be a good time to start your seeds, or if you want it. Yeah, now is the perfect time. But you can start, if you're going to keep that plant inside, you can start it anytime you want. However, during the winter time, you need a heat source if it's not going to be getting warm. If it's going to be staying cold, you have to keep that plant at a certain temperature. So that means for the long haul, you'll be working at it. Whereas when we get hot here, summer's coming, you literally don't, you put it near a window, you can put it outside if you wanted to get some sun, put it on your stoop. You can put it outside in your garden if you like.
All right, so this is an interesting question. Are you available for private consultation, Sister Phyllis?
Yes.
Good answer, good answer.
Like this. I am available.
All right. And there was another question. People want to know about Masjid Muhammad's community garden. Where is it located, and when will you start going out there?
Masjid Muhammad's community garden is located at Walker Mill Regional Park. We are directly across the street from Walker Mill Regional Park, which is on Ritchie Road. I can't believe, but you just look up Walker Mill Regional Park. We are directly across the street from the skating park. Oh, yeah, and the tennis court. You might pass us by because we have a screen of trees, but there is a cow gate there. But if you give me a call, she'll give you a number. They officially reopen. It is gated, but it isn't out. It is literally out there. So we have deer, rabbits. We have been plagued with groundhogs. So it is an open field, open space, and the garden is just gated. And we're working in coordination with other gardeners. I've forgotten the name of the church, but we're in coordination with a church group also. So we're all growing there, and we have plots in that area. So I'm believing that I'm going to be going out there. Sister Corey, help us. When are we going out there?
Whatever you call me.
That's what she always says, whatever I call her. And she comes. And she works. Let's see, probably March. I will be going out there March to start turning the soil over, getting it laid out. I've already started seeds. So, and then today I've started my basil. So I'm gonna start a few more of those herb seeds. And these are not gonna stay in a pot in my house. They're going to go in the garden. But they're gonna stay for now because it's too cold out there, but they will be transplanted into the garden.
So you know it's March, right, Sister Phyllis?
Is it March? It is March, okay. At the end of March, I will be going at the end. See, your gardening is influenced by your last frost date and your first frost date. Our last frost date for this area where the garden is in DC is April the 16th. So we don't want to plant something outside in the garden and get really excited about putting it in the garden, and then a snow comes or a storm comes and it kills everything that's frost tender. So if I were to put, none of these are frost tender per se. They will all come back. They'll die down, but they will come back. They'll be stunted a little bit. So the thing is, we want to get as close to April the 16th as possible. But we do have to go out and dig and prepare the soil. We're going to put compost in. We're going to dig it up. We're going to put the trenches in so that the extra water we get during the rainy season does not drown our flowers and our seedlings like it did last year. It's very devastated. It just waved over my plants. I had kale and it just washed my little babies out. And so I had to reseed and replant, which was a disappointment, but mashallah, Allah said he touched us. And I still had a nice little harvest, and I still was able to go back out and do it again. So toward the end of March. But if you take my number and give me a call and you're interested, I will definitely be out there. You can meet me.
So one of the things that I learned out in the garden with you is the garden the garden teaches you life lessons. Like you kind of just hinted at that right now, how you're tested. So what's another life lesson that you can share that you've learned from working in the garden?
That you get what you put in. That you get what you put in. I put in a lot in the garden, and that a lot is that you get what you put in, which is if I put in a lot of work and a lot of effort and time, not too much work, but if I'm consistent, consistency, patience and consistency. If you patiently put your plant and you have to wait, it's not going to give you everything you want. It's not going to come to fruition in 1 week or 2 weeks. It takes weeks, and some of them. And when you see on a seed packet, tells you it's 60, 65 days before it comes to you getting like a tomato. That's 2 months. So that means you literally have to take care of that plant from when it came up, from when it germinated, for almost 60 days before you get your first tomato. But oh my goodness, you're like, alhamdulillah, when you see that first tomato and it's green, and then when it turns red, there's something special about eating the first one that you grew, that you watched from a seed or from a little plantlet, and now you're taking your own tomatoes off of it and you're eating it. So patience and consistency, which Allah has already told us we must have if we truly believe.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So speaking of seed packets, where can we get seeds from? What's a good place to get seeds from? I think you already talked about where to get seedlings from, not necessarily a big box store, but what's a good place to buy seeds?
You can buy, there are multiple. Okay, here's the thing about the seeds this year. Last year, even me as a gardener, there was a run on seeds because so many people were trying to garden for the first time last year because of the food insecurity. So the stores got wiped out. Even seed companies got wiped out, and things that were ordered before were late. So you can go online if there's something in particular you want to look up. You go online and order. I do seed savers, which are organic, non-GMO, which means mutated seeds. I try to stick with organic seeds, try to stick with heirlooms. Heirlooms are seeds that have been around for 40 to 50 years. That means they've been passed, just like heirloom, it's been passed on and on. So the seeds are true and they haven't been mutated and changed. Hybrids, I don't have a problem per se with hybrids. I do have a problem when we're mutating seeds to make them do or have traits that we want that was not natural. So you can go to the big box stores like Lowe's, Home Depot, and they have seed racks. Just check and look. There's always some good, even in any place you can find some good. You just have to look. So they have seed packs in Home Depot, Lowe's. There's online, like I said, Seed Savers, Johnny Seeds, and another one, Baker Creek. I do them in terrestrial. So look up organic seeds. You can order something online if you want, or you can go into the stores if you're just starting out and always try to get organic, always try to get heirlooms or F1s, and make sure you check that it's non-GMO. It's not been genetically modified. That would be a place that you could go. Get your soil, get your pots. And like I said, I went, and I don't have a problem. If you're not trying to grow a lot, and it's a little bit, you can go to the dollar store. They have a limited supply, and they have limited variety. The thing why you would go to, say, order it online, there are varieties. There are thousands of different types of tomatoes and different types of herbs and different types of greens. But if you want just the basic kind and you're just starting out, the local place will be okay, because you do have to pay for postage when you order these seeds. So you're paying but you're paying for a variety. You want to try something different, or there's a specific one that you know and you want to grow.
One thing I learned from you, Sister Phyllis, is that every year you try something different. You try something new that you haven't done before. And I think that is amazing for, a veteran gardener to try something new. So we shouldn't be scared to try something new as, beginning gardeners or beginning container gardeners.
Every year I do. You're right. I give it to myself just like we're learning a new soil, we're learning how to do something different. I try something new every year that I've never grown before. And each year I'm keep adding to my repertoire of what I know how to grow now, because I started garlic 4 years ago. And now I'm growing garlic every year. I eat a lot of garlic. I buy it. I'm going to the organic store and spending money on it. Now I know you take a piece of one clove, stick it in the soil and take care of it. However, it takes 100 days. Remember what I talked about, patience and consistency? You have to plant it like near Thanksgiving in order for you to harvest it in June. So you need to do all that work in advance and then kind of like watch it. And then I planted 30 cloves. Last year, what do I have? Jerusalem artichokes. It has inulin in it, which is good for diabetes. And it kind of tastes like a chestnut, a roasted chestnut. It's a root like. I had it, I liked it, and I realized it was good and healthy for you. And I was like, and you could store it for a long time over the winter. So I tried it. I read it. I was unprepared for the results because it said it gets really high. It's in the sunflower family, which I'm good. I grow sunflowers every year. Usually the birds get most of the sunflowers. We don't eat but a few of them. So I just let the birds, I feed nature too. So the hummingbirds, there's frogs, there's good insects. I plant flowers and stuff for pollinators in the garden too, for everybody. So my plant, my son measured it. He stood on a tree. I don't know if he can find my phone. It was 12 feet high. There were flowers 12 feet up. That I was not expecting. And I had buckets, you know, the Home Depot, Lowe's buckets, the blue and the orange buckets. I had 3 buckets full of artichoke, the Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes. That's what I harvest from 2 bulbs that I planted. I was like, okay.
That is truly, truly amazing.
Yes, I'm still eating them to this day, but they're healthy. I just put them in there and I gave away. And somebody said something to me. I was like, do you want those? I'm like, oh yeah, I want some from Glutz and it's cheaper at Glutz than it is at another store. And I was like, oh, I have plenty. You can have some. I'm going to share it too. I want people to try. I'm always trying new things. Don't be stuck, because growth is trying and experiencing new things. Everything's not going to be for you. Some things you're going to taste, you're not going to like them. Other things you're going to taste and they're healthy for you and you like them. I tell my children all the time and my husband, it's good for you. You may not like it, but it's good for you. So try things that are good for you. You're eating to live, not living to eat. Or some of us, most of us aren't.
So that's another thing. You said something, you said you feed everyone. The garden is for everyone. You feed, you know, certain wildlife and things like that. And there's a question in the chat. A brother wants to know, can he come and help? The garden is for everyone, right, Sister Phyllis? Male, female, children, come on out, right?
Yes, everyone. My son bought me a Jerusalem artichoke, and this is what it looks like. This is what I planted, and this is what it looks like. And you just kind of scrape off it with a spoon, and then you bake it. You can't eat it raw, but I think it tastes better when you bake it. It sweetens up when you bake it. Like I said, it's like chestnuts. It tastes like chestnuts. Or what is that? Lotus. If you eat Asian food, it's got like a crispy taste. Texture of jicama. That's something I would try to grow too, but I've never grown that.
So brothers can come out to the garden.
Is more than welcome to come. We have had brothers in the garden, and so you can come. We do need some brothers. I'm strong, but the brothers who y'all move, that you do the heavy lifting and you have to make it easier. But if you want to grow, brothers come. It's not a sisters only thing. It's a whole family thing. We have the children. We have a strawberry patch, and the children run. You're outside. You're in nature. You will see animals. You get sunlight, so you're getting vitamin D from the sun. You're getting food that you can trust. You're getting community, because we're going to talk to each other and communicate, and you can exercise.
And I remember, Sister Phyllis, being out there, even during COVID, we were outside, we were masked up, you know, we were socially distanced, but just being outside, you know, in nature, growing food, it was, it helped it helped me with my sanity in this time when, you know, most people are, you know, inside cooped up and stuff like that. So yeah, come out to the garden, please. So
Yes.
there is
one more thing. There is a group of
uh-huh.
men. There are men outside in the garden. Like I said, there's another group that we're working with. When the garden was formulated, we formulated it with a church. I can't remember the name of the church right this minute, but Masjid Muhammad, in coordination with the church, went to the city and asked for this space to be prepared and open up. And they've been there since the beginning, where they really just turned the soil over and said, this is going to be a community garden. We would like to do it. So there's a group of men that are there. They're there every day. They're retired and they work the garden. That's like their job. And they socialize and they come out and they sit out every day. So they are there even when I'm not. I'm there, but they're there every day. They come and check their babies, they do some work, and then they socialize and sit out in the sun. Hey, it's a job, but it's not. It's a pleasure too. Mr. Corey?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. We have a question from Sister Leah. Do you prefer straw or soil for strawberries?
I have straw, but I prefer soil. I say that I do put the straw down. However, you don't want to get the wrong straw. That has been my problem. If you get the wrong straw and it has seeds in it, it creates a weed problem later. But if you get clean straw that's not seeded, then you're going to be fine. You can tuck it under. The reason why you need the straw is to keep the berries off of the ground and on the dirt. And so you elevate the berries up into the straw, and the straw helps to keep the fruit off of the ground. But if you get the wrong straw, you created a problem for yourself and you will be pulling weeds, which I did do one time. I got the straw, I thought it was okay. I didn't ask the specific question, and then it created a lot of weeds for me because it had seeds in it. And I was like, oh my gosh. But we live and learn. That's how we learn.
So there's another question. I think this is not a beginner question. This is a little bit advanced. Could you give advice on canning or preserving veggies?
I'm in my venture of canning myself. So I have canned. I have canned. Now, I am a new canner, but with my mother who grew up canning and lived on a farm, like I said, it's in my blood. She lived on a farm, so they canned to survive because there weren't any stores close to her. So I could give some advice. I could join in the adventure of learning some more. So we could come together and work on it. But I have done some canning, and I'm real happy about my canning. I get excited when I wouldn't do it without my mother because she was the lead and she knew. Even though I read, I'm like everybody else. But like I said, you can't grow if you don't try. You got to step out of your comfort zone and try. So when my mother left and she wasn't canning with me, I had to jump out there in the deep end. Oh, they're giving me one. I grew tamales, and I wasn't sure exactly what to do with the tamales. So I looked up what to do with them. I gave a lot away, and then I canned this tamale. So this is green salsa. So this is one of my products that I canned from the garden last year. Jalapeno peppers. I had a lot of jalapeno peppers. So we eat these jalapeno peppers with our nachos. I canned that. And I canned a lot of tomato sauce. I dehydrated a lot also. Yeah, so they put other peppers. These are sweet peppers right here. So I wanted to extend my harvest. I didn't want to lose my harvest. And because we were in COVID-19, I couldn't bring it to the masjid. And oh, this is my cherry tomatoes. I canned the can of cherry tomatoes. And so I can put this into soup, or I probably will drop it into soup. Drop it into a can of lentil soup or bean soup and use it for that. Because I couldn't go to the garden and people buy or purchase to help the garden with the veg, I had to find a way to use the product. So now we've been using it in my house. By canning it, I preserved my harvest and was able to continue to eat the food even when the winter came through.
Oh, back to the...
I made pickles last year for the first time. This year, last harvest, I made pickles, which I was excited about. They didn't last long. My children ate them up really quick because we love pickles. So now I know if I grow more cucumbers, I can have lots and lots of pickles, which I'm planning on to do. And, oh, this is a spicy tomato jam, which is really, really good. put it on burgers, nachos. So this was a new recipe that I tried. Instead of just being plain tomatoes, stewed tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, or salsa, I said I was gonna make a tomato jam. So this is really good. And I gave a lot of these away because I'm trying to share the harvest. That's a part of growing too. Zakat, share your harvest with other people.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So back on the strawberry question real quick. Sister Leah was like, what's the best straw to get? What kind of straw should I get?
You should get clean cut, unseeded. It should say clean cut, unseeded straw or hay. But it has to say unseeded and ask the question if it's clean. Because the way they cut it and whether it had a seed head on the top is what matters.
Okay. I think I've come to the end of the questions. If there's any more questions, go ahead quickly and put it in the chat. Anything that I've forgot, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. We'll be closing this in a few minutes. A lot of people are saying thank you. Okay.
Thank you, and please don't forget, Corey, did we give him our number, my number?
I sure did.
Okay, so just in case you didn't get my number, my name is Sister Phyllis Tarver Kashif. You can call Masjid Muhammad and ask for the garden or the green team, because Corey has my number too. If you just forget the garden, community garden, my phone number is 301-785-2104. I'm available, and I would love you to join us in the garden, even if you just want to come through and see what's going on and help. You can help. I always want help. I always want you to get your hands dirty and dig and enjoy. But you can come out there and sit and watch it too and just be in nature.
What's the best time to contact you, Sister Phyllis?
What's the best time? That's my cell phone, so you can leave a text or you can leave a message.
Okay.
It is a cell phone, so you can leave a text or a message.
And I'd like to reiterate to everyone, come out, even if you don't know, you have no idea what you're doing, come on out, and Sister Phyllis will, guide you, and help you learn. And you will definitely learn something, even if you help for just like 30 minutes or an hour. It's not too strenuous. There's something for every level. Like if you got back problems, there's something else you could do. There's always something to be done in the garden. And one of the things I loved about being in the garden, besides Sister Phyllis and her mother, is leaving with fresh food. Every time I visit, she's sending me home with like a bag full of fresh food. So come on out, please come on out and get involved in the Masjid Muhammad Community Garden, please.
And don't forget to bring the children. My son is telling me, what about me? The children are out in the garden too. They can come out and they can walk around and work and experience and plant seeds. Especially young ones, they're fascinated by it. They think they were growing gold when they pick the potatoes out of the ground. I'm like, they're potatoes. They're like excited to dig and find like the berry tree.
All right, I think there's something going on with the sound. Something happened with the sound real quick, just in the last second when you were saying something. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I think we're about at the end of this. I want to thank everyone for joining us for Sister Phyllis's first Zoom webinar. I think she did great. Mashallah. Her family handled all the technical stuff, and Sister Phyllis was like, yo, y'all get that? And I got everything else.
Yes,
Alhamdulillah.
I do want to thank my husband and my son for helping me with all the tech. That's not my forte. I'm not the best at that. I said, but I got the best if you can get the tech.
All right, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. All right, thank you everyone for joining us. Please contact Sister Phyllis if you would like to come and help out in the garden or just come watch and chat. But please try to put in a little bit of work too. Inshallah. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Keep growing.
And she said, keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. Alhamdulillah. Will I post this somewhere? I might post this probably on a Green Ramadan webpage or Masjid Muhammad's webpage. I think I will for people who weren't able to make it. But thank you all for joining us. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.